Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world, talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. All right. So after the college football season, the first real showcase for these players before the combine is the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl happened last weekend, and there's a couple of players from either side who really shot up. There's one thing I want you guys to pay attention to. I call it the Big Five. There's a big five positions in the NFL. These are the top five paid positions. Now, people, especially NFL owners, they talk with their money. So if an NFL team is playing a position across the board more than others, they're more important. And guess what they are? They all revolve around the passing game. You got the quarterback, you got the offensive tackle, you have pass catchers, you have the edge rushers, and you have the corners. Those are the top five average per year in the NFL right now, and as far as salary goes. So it's no mistake that these are every one of these 8 players are from one of those categories. Let's get started right away. We're going to jump right into it. The first one is Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. So look, we all know quarterback is like must have in the NFL. You got to have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a shot. Even if these quarterbacks aren't technically quote unquote first round talents, it doesn't matter. A lot of people are saying that maybe Cam Ward and Shador in a different class wouldn't be first round talents, but the need is so great for quarterbacks that you overdraft. I'm all about value. I'm all about not reaching for players, getting best player available. That all goes out the window if you need a quarterback. You're going to overdraft a guy if you think he's a guy that you can win with. That's the issue with Jackson Dart. He overcame a rough start to the practice week. He had a rough first day of practice because, look, this whole situation, the Senior Bowl, is really not set up for quarterbacks to really excel. The new receivers, like very basic, bland offenses, but they're also going against very basic, bland defenses. There's a lot of pluses and minuses here. The main thing is you don't really know the playbook that well. You don't know the receivers at all. Everyone has their little intricacies. But after the first day, Jackson Dart really turned it on. The main things about Jackson Dart during the week was he made good decisions. He didn't waste any downs. He was really good at hitting his first major target, right? And he threw with confidence. He went out there after the first day and said, you know what? I'm just going to go do it. We heard it from a lot of guys. We heard it from Mel Kiper. We heard it from Todd McShay. We heard it from Field Yates, from Daniel Jeremiah. We heard from all these guys. This dude is a baller, right? He goes out and he just goes out and balls. He had really good ball placement over the week. The thing that we need to focus on right now when it comes to Jackson Dart in this practice week was he's going up against, some really good defenders out there, out on the outside. I'm not saying that he didn't go against good defenders in the SEC, but these are like the best in the country for right now. He did pretty well, okay? He did well enough to really be the big riser. Now, with Cam Ward not showing up, with Shador showing up for a day, then dipping, with the issues that Milroe had, he really shined in this week of the Senior Bowl. Todd McShay said it, and if you guys watched the video I did on Jackson Dart, you probably heard it already. Before the Senior Bowl week, Todd McShay didn't have a very high grade on Jackson Dart. But having watched Shador Sanders play, then watching Jackson Dart practice during the week, he thinks it's a lot closer than people might think. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for me if Jackson Dart was a top 10 quarterback. Again, normally would it happen if you're slotting these guys best players available regardless of position? Sure, but let's just be grown-ups here, okay? The quarterback position means so much more than any other position on the football field. It's ridiculous. That's why these guys get overdrafted. Does it always work? No. Hell no. Doesn't always work. But you got to take your swings or you're never going to get your guy. A couple of things come into play here. One, Jackson Dart performed really well. Okay. What that does is it puts eyeballs on his tape. We looked at his tape, right? If you watched the Jackson Dart video that I did, you saw some tape. Now, you saw some really good, you saw some eye-popping, and you saw some head-scratchers. Every coach out there thinks they can fix a player. As long as he has the attributes, as long as he has those peaks, coaches out there think that they can get those peaks out of him consistently. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. It really goes up to that marriage between the coach and the player and how they work together. All accounts, Jackson Dart's a pretty coachable player. I haven't heard any negative things about him. And he goes out there and he plays hard, and his team really appreciates it. Now, I'm not saying a lock that he's going to be a first-round pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a first-round pick. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 10 pick. It all depends on your flavor because it only takes one team to really feel strongly about a player. And so far, Jackson Dart hasn't done anything to really tarnish his name and dissuade teams from picking him high. All right, guys, next prospect that's just shooting up the draft boards. Out of Marshall, edge rusher Mike Green. All right. Ever since he just used Josh Connolly from Oregon in this clip that went super viral, right? He just obliterated him. He checked a lot of boxes. This is a setting for like edge rushers. This is like you just go out there and you do one-on-one drills, just pass rush, right? You go out there and there's really no blitzing or anything like that. So the edge rushers have to do a lot of pressure. There's some timing issues sometimes with the receivers and the quarterbacks. Edge rushers just pin their ears back and go, right? And Mike Green really helped himself out. When you go to a smaller school, you have to check some boxes, right? When you go into a week like this, like he didn't stay the entire week, but what he did do really helped him out a lot. Going into the Senior Bowl week, he was kind of looked at as a second-round prospect, right? Not anymore. If he does anything close to what he did in the combine that he did in the Senior Bowl, he's going to be a lock for the first round. Okay, a couple of things that he really kind of went in there and showed out. Over 250 pounds, the big thing. People saw him as like a small little speed rusher. Nah, man, he's bigger than people think, okay? Going against good competition. You saw Josh Connolly is going to be one of the first tackles off the board. Dude's good, and he got absolutely used in that clip, and we just saw. Then a mix of pass rush moves, and he showed that. He showed a spin move, showed some rip throughs, power moves. He showed a bunch of different moves to be able to beat the defenders. This is the kind of week that you want to do if you're a guy from a small school who's athletic, who put up a bunch of big numbers. Dude had it was something nuts, like 17 sacks last season. And I mean, combined with his tackles for loss, it was like almost like 22, 23 tackles for loss. Tackles for loss is just as good as a sack, okay? Let me tell you that right now. Just as good as a sack. The team is losing yards, and it's a negative play, and you did it. So combined, he's got 40 this last season? That's really good coming from a guy out of Marshall. And he showed that just because he's out of Marshall doesn't mean he can't be a top pick. Just don't be surprised if Mike Green out of Marshall, the edge rusher, goes in the first round. All right, next is receiver. Look, we talked about it when we talked about Jackson Dart. This is really not a setup to help receivers shine, unless you do, okay? You're going against mostly man coverage, right? These guys are ball hawks, one-on-one. You get a quarterback that you're really not used to, plays that you're used to not running. Do you cut it a yard short? Do you go a yard deeper? These are things that you need to get over time with your quarterback. So it's really not that set up that well for receivers to shine. But, man, this kid, Jaylin Noel from Iowa State. Okay, first off, I'm going to say this. It's tough for smaller receivers in the settings like this because every time they want to say, okay, he's this kind of a scat guy. Let's put him in the slot. Let's have him return punts and kicks, this and that. Have him do special teams. He's a smaller dude. Look, Jaylin Noel said, nah, man, I can play on the outside too. And that's exactly what he did. He went out there. He wowed people with fighting and contesting deep balls on the outside. He was voted the best receiver by the national team on the own team. So he went out there and he balled out. Doesn't matter who was throwing to him. Doesn't matter who was covering him. He went out there and he competed every single play. And he opened some eyes that, yeah, this guy, I may be smaller receiver, but I can play in the slot, but I can also play on the outside too. That speaks volumes because when you're from a smaller school and you're a smaller guy, that's 2 strikes against you. You got to show up to places like the Senior Bowl and you got to ball out. Now, when you go to the combine, there's not going to be a lot of competition at the combine, right? You're just going to go out there, kind of run some drills, take some pictures in your underwear, run a little bit, catch a few balls, and you go home, right? Now, this is competition right here. And these guys that are going against you, they want to make some money too. And he went out there, he balled out, dude. Good job, Jaylin Noel. Don't be surprised if you see Jaylin Noel early in the second day. All right. I'm telling you guys, if you're in one of these top 5, like big 5 positions, and you kind of show a little something during your Senior Bowl, you can watch your stock just shoot through the roof. This is what happened to Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. Okay, he didn't have eye-popping stats this year. He had like 4.5 sacks, I think 11 tackles for loss, which is not great. But you go to the Senior Bowl and you ball out the way Shamar Stewart balled out, you're going to turn some heads. This dude was just as effective against the run as he was against the pass. And if you show that versatility to coaches against top competition, that's going to bode well for you. He had a tackle for loss. He had a strip sack during the Senior Bowl game. He showed a lot of quickness off the ball, a lot of power. He showed a lot of variety in his moveset. Guys are drafting a lot for potential too. They want to see a guy who's shown it on the field, but if you can get in front of their faces and show it in a practice, they don't know exactly what was being run and what the different responsibilities were by these defensive linemen. Sometimes the guy's supposed to be keeping the edge more. Sometimes the guy's more of an attacker. Who knows? But coaches, they see things that they like. It could be a little snippet. And if you can perform that over and over and over again, and you can consistently win against top competition, doesn't matter what your stats are. Stats are your stats. Okay, fine. That's what he did. What can you do moving forward? Can we get him to improve? How can we get him his body better, his fitness better, his moveset better? That's what coaches want to see. If you come in there with a nice shell and you show out in the Senior Bowl, especially as an edge rusher, a premium position, man, you can shoot through the roof. Shamar Stewart was kind of like, borderline, second round pick, this and that. This guy's firing up this draft board. People are saying he could be even potentially a late first round pick. If Shamar Stewart with 4.5 sacks and 11 tackles for loss in the season can shoot up in the first round, he must have had one hell of a Senior Bowl, and he did. All right, next on the list is Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. Yes, Jason Taylor's kid. Look, Mason Taylor went to the Senior Bowl. Yeah, he's a senior. He went out there. He was mostly used in like some short yardage and as a red zone target because he's a big kid, big target. He went out there and, man, he showed some fluidity in his hips. He showed a little shake. He showed the ability to create separation and get open, and he wowed everybody with his catching ability. His hands were like fly traps. Whap. Every time something got in there, whap, he got it. And it was like a lot of different routes he ran against a lot of different guys from a lot of different quarterbacks. And I'm going to tell you right now, he made a big case for himself. Now, he's not Tyler Warren. He's not Colston Loveland. This dude is huge, all right? He's way taller and bigger than his dad. And he's a natural hands catcher. I don't know if you guys have heard that before. A natural hands catcher, great red zone target, great short yardage target, great target that, hey, if you have a guy on one end who's, a tight end, that's the pass catching guy. He's like more of the run blocking guy, but guess what? He can get open and he can catch passes too. Mason Taylor did really well for himself this week. It's crazy if you're a coach and a staff and you go to the Senior Bowl to look at certain guys and this guy pops out at you. This is a guy that can shoot up draft boards because they're looking at him and they're saying, we can do a lot with this kid. Mason Taylor did a lot for himself this week. All right. Next up, finally, an offensive lineman. Look, I understand if you come from a small program, you got to be a huge, just hulking mass, right? Well, that's Grey Zabel. Grey Zabel out of North Dakota State went in there at the Senior Bowl. He had a lot of question marks on him. He looked super athletic, was dominant in his position at the FCS programs. Well, what is he going to do against top competition, right? He went in there and he performed really well. He was a tackle at North Dakota. People were saying that he might kick in at guard and be like, even at center, he took some snaps. And he might be the best interior offensive lineman in the entire draft. I had, in a couple of my mocks, I had the Raiders taking him in the second round. And man, he might even not last that long. He went in there and he lost a few reps here and there because, one-on-one situations like that, and especially when you have that in the practice setting, it's really not set up for the offensive lineman to win. It's more set up for like the rushers to win. But man, he held his own. He played 3 positions. He played guard, he played tackle, and he played center, and he did really well in all phases. He really helped his draft stock out a lot because when you're a guy from a small school like Grey Zabel, even if you have the size, if you have the tape, they want to see it against the top competition. He went in there, he performed really well. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone well before we pick in round 2. This setting is super tough for corners, right? It's tough. Think of it like for offensive linemen. You just have receivers out there running routes like crazy. You got quarterbacks that's flinging the ball everywhere. it's not pretty sometimes for these corners to go out there. So if you can show out as a corner, it's going to turn some heads. Quincy Riley from Louisville, man, he went out there and he showed just a calm. He showed why he has 15 picks and 40 pass breakups in his career. It's not all about stats when it comes to corners, especially in college, because sometimes they don't get thrown at a lot. What you want to look at is, can this guy be a playmaker? How does he handle being out on an island? How does he handle the back shoulder throws? How does he handle the deep fades? How does he handle these different change of direction receivers out there? How does he handle the slot? How does he handle the outside? Is he okay on an island? Quincy Riley showed that he was okay with anything. He was fine out there. He went out there. He broke up a couple of nice passes. He broke up a really nice back shoulder throw. He showed that he was unpanicked, unaffected, and really unaware of the fact that he was out there by himself most of the time. Quincy Riley really helped himself out. He was like a borderline day 3 pick. I think he firmly squared himself into day 2, maybe even a second round pick. I was thinking maybe like a third. Before the Senior Bowl, he was probably like a fourth round pick. He's in the 3rd round, locked up, maybe even higher, depending on how he performs at the combine. But man, when you got the ball skills to have 15 picks in college and 40 pass breakups, and you show the calm under pressure that he did really well for himself. Good job. All right, guys, last one. And honestly, this dude is what the Senior Bowl is all about. You get a small guy from a small school who plays big. Let's see how he does against the big boys. David Walker out of Central Arkansas. This Senior Bowl is for players just like him. He didn't measure that big. He was only 6'1", 267 pounds, though. He's a big kid. He's got super long arms. How did he fare against these one-on-one drills, these tackles, these offensive linemen in the Senior Bowl? Really well. He showed the ability to convert speed into power. He had moves. He had shake, spin moves, rip moves. He tossed a offensive lineman to the side. He giving off like Melvin Ingram vibes, like Brandon Graham-ish vibes, like a smaller edge rusher who can still set the edge but can get after the quarterback. He's had 30 sacks in the last 3 seasons at Central Arkansas, and he showed why. This dude is a little bit smaller. He wasn't even on the radar. He goes up there, and he may be in a mock draft now. This guy is a guy that just keep an eye on this guy. He's a big-time motor, flies to the ball, and he's relentless. Is he a little bit too small? Maybe, but that doesn't matter. It's how big you play. And with those long arms that he has, I think he plays a lot bigger than that. And 267, he's no lightweight. So this Senior Bowls, they're made just for players like this, to get out there in front of competition, not just in your underwear, not just taking pictures and running a 40-yard dash, but going against top competition that want to be drafted as well. This is where David Walker balled out. He showed out, and don't be surprised if you hear his name come April. All right, guys, that's my time today on the fast risers after the Senior Bowl. There's going to be plenty more opportunity for all these players to go ahead and show what they can do. There's their pro days. There's the combine. There's individual workouts. There's just draft buzz just flying out of everywhere, from speculation even. It's a crazy day. It's a crazy time right now. But, man, everyone wants to get that one guy, that one diamond in the rough. These guys right here really shut up the draft boards with their performance in the Senior Bowl. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please, everybody, we're getting up there, right? We're creeping up there. Let's get up and over 1,000, okay? I need you guys' help, all right? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share to your socials. Let everyone know that Raiders versus the World is the best thing going today, all right? It's the bare minimum you guys can do without doing absolutely nothing to really help this guy out, okay? I'm doing it just for you guys. I hope you like the content, all right? Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.